For me in the US, there was like the Salem witch trials where everyone was like, you're a witch, you're a witch. But with this one, it was like, you're a vampire, you're a vampire. Hello, adventurers. My name is Alexandra, and welcome to Take It Before You Kick It, the podcast where we talk about everything that should be on your adventure bucket list and just fun things to do. On this episode, we are going to be going on the more hidden and wacky side of Budapest, Hungary, and this is straight from somebody who actually lived there. So I'm very excited to talk about the non-touristy things to do in Budapest. Stay tuned and let's get inspired. This guide is going to be very good for off-the-beaten-path travelers or maybe travelers who want to uncover the darker side of history. Now, with all of these things, I do have tours already picked out, so if you are specifically looking for tours, don't worry, I have done all the heavy lifting for you and I have found them already. So if you do like anything on this list, check out the blog post in the description because I have an entire blog to go with this, and make sure to go check out those tours because for some of them you will need to have a guide. Now, the first one is exploring the caves, the mazes, and the labyrinth underneath Buda Castle. Now, this is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there is a tour in that guide that I linked. And it basically is just remnants from the war. There's some bones, and it's really, really steeped rich in history. Personally, I love like darker sides of history, so this was really, really fun. And some of it has even been updated for like a bomb shelter or things like that, so it's very interesting to see history meet modern times. Now, next is going a dark tour of Budapest. We're going on this line right here, and when I first moved to Budapest, I really wanted to go on a history tour, but I kind of wanted to go on a weird history tour, if that makes sense. And the history tour that I actually chose was a dark history tour, and that was like a vampire walking tour. Now, I know it sounds strange, but this is not Twilight. For me in the US, there was like the Salem witch trials where everyone was like, you're a witch, you're a witch. But with this one, it was like, you're a vampire, you're a vampire. And just so many like weird serial killers and just weird myths and legends like Vlad the Impaler and, you know, all this different history. So it was actually really informative and I really enjoyed it. Now, going on with this dark side of history, this one is actually scarier than the vampires because it actually happened and it's horrible. So this is the House of Terror, otherwise known as the Terror Haza, I believe. So this is basically a chilling reminder of the darker parts of Hungary and Budapest's past. It's basically housed in a building that was a condemned torture site. Yikes. And although it is very hard to go in there, it is a very amazing reminder of just how fragile life really is. And it's honestly quite beautiful because it really does highlight the struggle and the resilience of the Hungarian people. And it's a really nice tribute to those who did lose their lives. Now, another place that I, of course, had to go to was the Semmelweis Medical Museum. And I had to go there because I was attending Semmelweis Medical School. So obviously, I had to go there. But I would definitely recommend this for somebody who is interested in medicine and specifically the history of medicine. It was very, very interesting and unique to actually walk through there and learn about how Semmelweis and his practices influenced even our modern day practices. Now, you do see some old like surgical instruments, but it is not as gruesome as it sounds, so don't worry. Personally, I really liked seeing the shrunken head and the x-ray machine. Those are my favorite parts. Now, speaking of medicine and hospitals, another unique thing that you can do is go to the Rock Hospital Atom Bunker Museum. Now, this place is not your typical museum. It's actually carved into like the side of Castle Hill, and it was actually a air raid hospital that was converted into a nuclear bunker. It's really like history comes alive with these museums, and that's why I really like it. You'll get to see some original, some of them still functioning medical equipment, fallout shelters, and just a wealth of information about the hospital and its role in World War II and the 1956 revolution. It also is one of the biggest waxwork exhibitions with over 200 wax figures. Very creepy, but still fun to see. Now, next on our crazy Budapest bucket list is the Red Star train graveyard. Did you know that trains had graveyards? Because I didn't. If you're like the type of person who likes like the eerie silence with like the modern decay, it is really, really cool. There's a lot of trains that are from like the Soviet era. And you also might ask like, what is a train graveyard doing here? Because I asked that question. Basically, in the beginning of the 20th century, it was actually a massive workshop for repairs. And it was unfortunately heavily damaged after World War II. So steam locomotion was eventually replaced by the oil and diesel locomotion, and then they were stored here. You wouldn't think it's spooky, but it kind of is. It's just a little eerie. Now, word to the wise, I would be very careful going here. It's not exactly regulated, and just be careful that you're not going anywhere that you shouldn't. Now, the next idea for something unique that you can do in Budapest is have a travel photo shoot. I ended up doing one of these right before I left Hungary, and honestly, I was used to the American prices of travel photo shoots, but I looked and they were actually very reasonably priced, and the photo shoot results that I got from this were absolutely incredible. You know, sometimes you just need a good photo shoot, and I respect it. Now, next, you can go see the Iron Shoes on the Danube bank. I really like this one because it's free, and I'm gonna be honest, I walked by these a lot when I was living here, and I had no clue what they meant until I looked it up and got very sad, but I still appreciate, as I said, the tribute to this. But basically, what this is signifying is there's like these iron shoes right on the bank of the Danube, and there's about 60 pairs of these 40s styled shoes. And basically, it is a tribute and a memorial to all of the Jews who were unfortunately killed. They were ordered to take off their shoes before being, and then they would fall into the river. So it is very sad. However, again, it is a beautiful memorial to those who did lose their lives. Now, with all this heart-wrenching history behind us, which is very important to learn about on travel, but let's move to something a little bit more fun and hidden gem-ish. There is this place that basically houses a bunch of old pinball machines, and it's called the Flipper Museum. Basically, you go down a rabbit hole just filled with like over 140 old style pinball machines, and it's so fun. It's actually Europe's largest pinball exhibit. When you step in time, you just feel like you are in the golden age of pinball. You can even play on the first pinball machines with flippers dating back to the 40s. It's flippin' awesome. See what I did there? No? Yes? Now next, St. Stephen's Basilica is a very big tourist spot. Actually, I used to live right by there, so I'd walk by it all the time, but what I didn't know is you can actually see the mummified hand of St. Stephen's himself. This is known as the Holy Right Hand, and you can actually light it up for a better view if you put a little money in there. Now next, another thing that you do need to do, it's a little bit more on the touristy side, but I'm gonna mention anyway, is you need to go get a drink at a ruin bar. Basically, there's these like old decapitated buildings that they have refurbished into these very like unique and eclectic furniture and decor, and they're like in these bars. They are all over the place. However, I lived in the 7th district, and there is a ton of amazing ruin bars in the 7th district, so definitely head there. I think my favorite is probably Simple Kurt. That one's my fave. And if you do want to head to that blog post, I have also linked a tour that can take you on like a bar crawl of all these ruin bars. So if you are interested and the sun has gone down and you can't do all the other stuff, it is really a fun thing to do at night, especially with your buddies. Now, another thing, if you are into like the ghosts and the dark and, you know, all that, they do have a really, really cool cemetery, which is the No, I'm not even going to try. Just look at the text. This is what it's called. I can't with my American accent sometimes. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm trying my hardest out here. But basically, this place is often overlooked by tourists, but it has one of the largest green areas in Budapest and houses some of the most prominent historical figures in Hungary. Is it just me, or like, I just love looking at cemeteries? Is there something wrong with me? Is it just me? Okay, comment below if that's you too, like if you like looking at cemeteries. I always play a game where I try to find the oldest one. Now, next idea. There is a place in Budapest where you can go on a VR tours. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, girl, you're in Budapest. Why would you need virtual reality? And I know. However, it is a quirky idea, and it also can give you some perspective on Budapest that you can't get normally. Like, for example, you can fly over the Danube, or you can go and walk the streets in medieval times, or you can step inside the city's iconic landmarks from hundreds of years ago. So this is a great option if you are looking for something unique, you are tight on time, or you just want to avoid crowds. So what did you think of this quirky, adventurous, and borderline dark things to do in Budapest? Is this your type of travel? Do you like looking at history, the dark side of history, going kind of beyond the typical tourist traps to really get into the depth of what makes a city a city? I would love to hear your thoughts. If there's anything I missed, or if there's anything I need to add to this bucket list. Again, you can see the full thing. You can go grab a tour. I've linked the majority of tours of the things that I have talked about so that you don't have to do the research. You can just go and do it. Well, that's all for this episode of Take It Before You Kick It. If you liked this episode, it would mean the world to me if you subscribed on your favorite podcasting platform, maybe leave me a review, or go check out those show notes and maybe book a tour. We will see you next time. Keep adventuring.